I want to ask about this independent autopsy. Why conduct an independent autopsy? Why order one? Why do it outside of Mississippi? So this is a significant move. The state medical examiner already reportedly performed an autopsy on July 7th. Now, officials say those results could take a couple of weeks because they're doing toxicology and other testing. But Crump has indicated that the independent autopsy results are expected as soon as tomorrow. And in speaking with ABC News, Crump said, we're trying to be very transparent because the family has some concerns about the state of Mississippi doing an investigation. We have investigators talking to witnesses that have no alignment or no allegiance to the state, and that's important. What's going on here, Joe?
I think they're looking both ways before they cross the street. One of the biggest pieces of evidence is the body. Not to sound morbid or whatever, but there's a chance that if a drowning is being alleged, and there's trauma that's inconsistent with the drowning, then we know that that raises more questions and that creates more problems. There's also an argument that perhaps the state of Mississippi, depending on what may have happened, depending on what they suspect may have happened, that they can't necessarily prove one way or the other, they may be incentivized to close the book. I've dealt with cases where you're trying to uncover information and you're dealing with a coroner or you're dealing with investigators, fire investigators, et cetera, fill in the blank. When something fits a narrative and they put it away, they do that. We would love to say, oh, we'll leave no stone unturned, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not always the case. So what's the best way to be sure that you've uncovered all of the information you possibly can? I think it's because you do, and that's why you need to do an independent autopsy, so that there is a scenario under which, and we're talking about the Deep South, we're talking about a very charged political time. We're talking about one black kid with several white kids. There is a scenario under which there could potentially be something to hide, and someone may choose sides in that regard. But the body itself, theoretically, could at least allay some concerns about how one may have died, et cetera. And it might be said that you certainly get information quicker. That question, that might be consistent with what...
But that's a point, right? How can you get information quicker if the state examination is like, we can't definitively conclude what happened until we do this additional testing? That's why it's going to take some weeks. Couldn't an argument be, well, if you have an independent autopsy and they're coming with results tomorrow, it's not as thorough? Or am I looking at it the wrong way?
I don't think you're looking at it the wrong way. I think that there's an argument for that, but I also think that you get what you pay for. That independent autopsy is not cheap. That's why most people don't get it. There's a whole lot of people that don't want to believe what the coroner said about this or that thing. I had a case recently where I've got the coroner, as it pertains to manner of death, that's going along with what happened here out in the field, and deferring to what happened with the investigators, what the investigators said, including a person's past history. So a lot of things can figure in where perhaps you get the same information, but there are certain things that you can get quicker. The independent autopsy is not going to tell you everything right away either, but you might be able to get some indications a bit quicker than you would if you were going the public route. So here, there's both that are going on. People would, may argue, oh, if it's quicker, then obviously it can't be good information. But on the other side, there are those of us that may believe in a worst case scenario that if it's public information with people that might have something to hide or people that are connected to people of influence, then maybe we can't be as sure as we would like to be about what the result is.